All right. Okay, I think we're live. I can never really tell. Are we? Oh, is this thing on? You know, how old people
Let's
do
see.
that. Let's see if it's on. All right, Simpiwe, tell me if you guys can hear us in the studio. All right, Bulelo has made a return. Look at you. How the hell are you, man?
I'm better than ever. I am
You're
better than ever.
Whoa, hang on. This is. I've noticed how much running you've been doing and how fit you're getting. It's driving me crazy. Ben also posted a picture the other day of himself looking more ripped than ever before, and it's just, yeah. I mean, I'm like, really? Do you have to rub our noses in it, dude? You know,
This is the year, guys. This is the year. I made a commitment that this year I'm going to take the health to the next level. So, you know, I'm feeling better than ever, and I'm training harder than ever. So, you know, work's going better than ever. What can I complain about?
How's it all going on Cliff Central Sport at the moment?
It's going well. It's going well. I mean, I don't know if everybody would have taken notice of the My Broadband article. Of course, we've partnered with a partner called Africa XP, so that's out and announced now. So, Cliff Central will be going to the continent. We'll be in 35 countries with Cliff Central Sport from May the 1st. So, you know, that's going really well.
Very good.
And it's just the beginning. We've got more things in the works, so it's going really well. You know, pre-production is always what it is, but loving it. It's going. There's nothing to complain about, and I'm really excited for what we're doing behind the scenes.
Good. That's all very, very good. Is your mother still giving advice from Limpopo?
The problem is she's better than ever as well, and the advice now. You know, when people get retired, they have nothing to do but give advice. So you know. Yeah. It is what it is. You know what? I actually have nothing to complain about right now. How are you guys doing?
No, that's not true. It's not true that you have nothing to complain about. I'll tell you why. You had you actually posted something on Facebook the other day complaining about two friends of yours who've become very rich. He's got two friends who've got lots of money. He's not complaining about that. He's complaining about how they don't know how to drink coffee.
Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got money, and then it's an issue that they don't know how to spend it on good coffee.
Yes.
They're still drinking coffee. They're still drinking Jacobs. I mean, come on, man. No, guys. The reason you make money is so that you can enjoy your life. And now these guys are rich, like rich. I don't mean like they're emerging middle class. They are rich, and they're still now drinking with a teaspoon for their coffee. No. So I shamed two of them into getting a plunger, and they had it by the weekend. There's one left. There was three of them, and the Tutswana has responded, but the Zulu, you know, the Zulu people and being hard-headed.
No, we don't know. What do you mean?
Need I say more? So
how dare you attack the Zulu nation when it is currently morning?
Yeah.
Wow, how insensitive.
The king. Long live the king. The king is dead.
Yeah, you can't say that.
I
said that on Twitter, and they tore me a new asshole in my back.
Oh, who's that? Who? The Zulus.
The Zulus.
They'll be strong, guys. They'll be strong. You'll have
another. If anyone is looking for any sense of productivity in KZN, please understand that there's nothing happening this week. Everyone is at home. It's not just lockdown. It's morning. So there's no work happening. No one is at school. Just rest easy for now. Be very considerate.
So I don't know if you know this, but in Xhosa culture, when royal family used to die a while ago, I don't know if they still do this. I'm not into the royals, but
I'm pretty sure people still die.
People are dying. People are dying. But in Xhosa culture, you were not supposed to have, as a man, you were not supposed to have sex for, I think it was 6 months or something like that. I don't know if that exists in Zulu culture. When a royal died, and I don't know if it's still true today, but back in the day, it was one of the things. Yeah.
All right. So it's funny you mentioned like the
no.
Quotas because Buyelekaya Dalindiebo, who's the Abatembu king, right? Remember him?
Oh God,
Mhm.
do I remember him?
He's the guy who. There's a sneeze for a Tuesday for you. He's the. I start
Sneeze
talking
on the truth.
So, this king Buyelekaya Dalindiebo, he's the one who beat up his son recently, Prince Azenati, because remember he was in jail already for fraud and defeating the ends of justice and assault and a whole lot of other stuff. So he's a real class guy. This, and then he decided to beat up his son as well. Now he might be going back to jail. And Cyril released him, like I think it was in 2019. And he's like a discount royal. He's like you get the good, the really important royals, and you get the discount royals. So King Buyelekaya Dalindiebo was a discount royal, that's for sure.
Wait, explain that exactly. You get a
good quality royal. You get the real deal, and you get the Fong Kong.
Who's like a real deal royal?
Oh, King Goodwill. King Goodwill is a real deal, and
then
I suppose you could also say, like the Queen and Prince Philip are real royals, but
yeah,
Prince Andrew and Buyelekaya Dalindiebo, those are like discount royals.
Okay.
Wow. If they weren't there, then no one would notice, and the fact that they are there is an embarrassment. That's kind of how you'd qualify it.
But put aside the major fact that in this country we pay for a lot of these, in your words, discount royals. But I liken it to being like, who's the dude, like the drummer from U2, or who's the band with the mask that just broke up? Daft Punk. You're there. You get all of the perks, but no one really knows or really cares about you.
By the way, isn't the drummer from U2 that is Larry Mullen Jr.?
I don't know why I wanted to say Sash or Flash or
no
Dash or
different guy.
Slash is from Kiss. Who is the dude from?
Speaking of music, did anybody watch the Grammys? Did anybody care?
I was so shocked that it's still a thing.
I know.
Honestly, I was so shocked that it's still a thing.
Oh.
That and the Oscars, they're still going.
What would be the reason to watch the Grammys? I'm very curious. If you watched them, if you actually got up and sat in front of the TV to watch that, I want to know why. I'd like to have some clarity, please. Give me some idea.
Here's my favorite question for you. Who hosted? Who did they get who fits the LGBTI plus Q minus underscore up dash down dash?
I'll tell you who. I know this. I know the answer to this one. It was Trevor Noah.
Yes.
Of course. Oh, he is.
But only because he's grown out a bit of an afro. So he's much more...
Black Power.
Now he's
Black
more...
Power, yeah. Black Power. Oh, he's going back to his roots, and he's not shy to go to America and live out his spiritual Africanism. Plus, he's perfect because Swiss dad, black mom. He
never talks about his white side anymore. That's not that doesn't help with woke points. You don't want to be at all white. That'd be very bad. Very, very bad.
Shame. I watched it. I had it on in the background yesterday afternoon while I was at home and cleaning up and whatnot. I couldn't actually make a full-on concerted effort of focusing on it. They tried to, because of COVID and social distancing and whatnot, it's usually held inside the Staples Center, the venue in Los Angeles. So instead they held it outside, so that's outdoor and whatnot. But in my opinion, the end result was it looked like someone's very average looking wedding.
That's horrible.
You know, and I thought, come on, guys, the Grammys has money. They could have done something. They could have added some draping on top. They could have even brought in some makeshift chandeliers to make it look fancy. I mean, where the lectern where the winners were coming up to receive their Grammys just had a bunch of flowers at the bottom. It's like, Aunt Tabitha could have strung that together. No issue at all.
But the Grammys have become discounted. I mean, so I'll tell you why you don't have to bother watching in case you think you missed anything. Guess who won awards? Despite the fact that they probably haven't even put out good songs this year. Guess who won? Because it's now all political, right? They had to give Taylor Swift awards because she's like this, she's the little girl of the Grammys who writes love songs that other little girls like. And then they had to give Beyonce Grammys because Beyonce is the queen.
Ah, well.
Right? So it doesn't matter if they I mean, can you name a new Beyonce song?
How long do you have for me to answer that?
Can you tell me and tell me how it goes, and even in your voice, let's see if I can recognize it. Go. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for.
Wait, should I sing from The Gift, which is the album that accompanied The Lion King, or should I sing from the remastered version of The Gift? See, there's a difference.
See, those two, I don't even know those two things were last year. Weren't they the year before?
You don't know Spirit?
No.
Oh, Spirit.
Fucking horrible song. Yes, I do remember that.
Watch the heavens.
Did she win for that? Was that what she won for?
Actually, I didn't. No. She won for Savage Remix with Megan Thee Stallion. And that is how she ended up with 28 Grammy wins in general. So she is now tied with someone else for the most Grammy wins in history.
This just proves that the Grammys don't have any credibility because Beyonce is not the best singer of all time by even the wildest imagination's longest stretch. She is not. She has got a voice that is at very best average and at worst the most annoying sound to human ears.
You know, I hate how I feel like I shouldn't get worked up with these moments, but I do.
Randall and I used to sit there in Idols auditions, and when people would come up thinking that they could sing like Beyonce, they were always better than her. And it was always a bad idea to sing her songs because they are designed to make you sound good even though you're shit.
Yeah.
That's all there is to say. She's not that great. She really is not that great. And I can promise you in 100 years maybe, people will listen to these songs and go, whoa, what were those people thinking at that time in human history?
People are still singing Beyonce songs from when she was in Girls' Time, not even Destiny's Child.
Destiny's Child was a better band because Kelly Rowland could sing.
That's true. And Michelle can belt them.
It's sad to me that Taylor Swift and Beyonce are still a thing. And neither of them are that impressive. They're both very, very annoying people.
Well, let's move away from them.
They totally made up marketing, merchandising creatures.
Thank you.
They are not singers. Aretha Franklin was a singer. Whitney Houston.
I was about to say that name.
These are people who could sing. They were well. They were like those perfect. Those tuning forks people could use to find exactly the note. If you did that with Beyonce's voice, it would go all over the place in terms of the note. You did that with Aretha. You did that with Whitney. You even did that with Mariah, God bless her in her prime. And they could sing. They were real singers. These two, Taylor Swift and Beyonce, they are like a package deal. They manufactured pop princesses, and they are not that good.
I think you guys are just so hung up because they play the fame and music game. If they released an album and they sat at home like Norah Jones, you think, oh my gosh, how artsy, how incredible. But because they bask in their Beyonce-ness, it's kind of an issue. Anyways, here's the bigger deal. I implore anyone right now to watch even the first 15 minutes of Grammys and see if you can identify more than 3 people, because this is how I felt, so out of the loop. And I did mention a few weeks ago on the show that I feel kind of uncool with certain things now. I couldn't spot more than 3 people. Oh, and by the way, one of those 3 was already Trevor. So standing in the crowd, I'm like, who are these people?
So you mentioned Megan the Stallion just now, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I wanted to know what that was.
I don't know is that a woman?
She's a rapper in WAP with Cardi B.
Oh, Jesus. And she's called the Stallion. Does she know that a
Yes.
stallion is a male horse? Does she know that?
Excuse me,
She's from
that was,
Texas, and
microaggression.
she was
By the way,
she's from
microaggression.
Texas, and she did a lot. She did a lot of rodeoing. That's where it's derived from. But I have to say, Cardi B and Meg the Stallion performed WAP yesterday, and even I felt a little tingling in my loins.
Oh, really? Was that good, huh? Was that
There
good?
was a lot of there was some baby oil drenched over bodies. There was some dance moves.
All right. Okay, well,
Just
you know
spend
what?
some time looking at that.
You know what I've
maybe.
done? You know what I've done is I've accepted. Like I used to get into the field of, when a rapper used to do their first album, but I've realized now they're not making music for me. It's for 16-year-old girls to fill an arena, like Drake and those people and Lil Wayne.
I'll tell you, who's worse than Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Is that depressing, miserable, sad, angsty little Billie Eilish with the green hair, and the one I said looked like she'd come from 2 dumpsters mating.
That is just sheer horrible.
Good Lord.
Well, must I lie to you? That's what I think. The problem these days is people say nice things about terrible people, and then we never know what the truth is. I listen to music, right? I listen to a lot of music. I've listened to it for years. I'm an aficionado of music. I have more than, 5,000 or 6,000 CDs still around my house arranged on shelves. I have been listening to the lyrics of songs since I was a little kid. I can tell you something about each of my favorite artists. I can play some of the songs on the piano. I'm not a singer by any means, but I can sing a lot of these songs because they're all in my head. These horrible, depressing songs that Billie Eilish writes. I mean, she's talented. Don't get me wrong, but what a misery to be that young and to be that unhappy. It just I can't see a good. And she's got all this success, and she's still so unhappy.
But Elvis Presley was also young when he was in his sequined outfits and whatnot. Michael Jackson was crying over. Oh, actually, here you go, Mr. Boomer, looking at us millennials. Yeah, all right.
I'm not a boomer.
What are you?
Gen X. Boomers like my parents. Are you insane?
Well, you're sounding like a boomer now. Here we go. Your great Michael Jackson was like 17 years old, whining about a motherfucking rat, Ben, going on and on and on. And you guys thought that was great? Come on. Ben, the 2 of us. Throw that rodent away and live, Michael.
In between that, he was doing, don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie. And he wrote beautiful music. You take his whole catalog. I'm sorry. He wasn't and he had problems. We know he was like into kids and he had no childhood and all that shit. Have you seen my childhood? But he also had
depressing.
He had some great songs like Thriller and Billie Jean and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Come on. You can't tell me that he was a depressed human being all the time. He wrote some beautiful music, some of the happiest music in the whole world. This Billie Eilish, it's misery after misery after misery.
Yeah, see, I think it's a little insulting to compare Billie Eilish and Beyonce to Michael Jackson.
Exactly. One of them is an actual artist.
I mean, I get your point. The guy invented a dance that will live forever. The moonwalk. changed
exactly.
the face. There's a very famous YouTube video. I'm pretty sure you've seen it when he did the moonwalk for the very first time in public. It really blew the doors open on entertainment. People had never seen anything like it before. And you're telling me about
Beyonce
Beyonce
created the booty hop. Bootylicious is in the dictionary. She is a cultural phenomenon.
What you are comparing...
Beyonce is actually going to win another Grammy in at least 2 more years, and then she will go down in history as
she could,
most
you know what? Every time
awarded artist.
Every time she wins a Grammy, it doesn't make her better; it makes the Grammys worse. Do you understand?
It buries talent.
Yep. You know,
this is like those people who think that if they go and study political science at university, it makes them look clever and they're going to get a job. No one hires anyone. No one. I'm a political science graduate. No one hires political science graduates. All you do by going to university and getting a political science degree is you embarrass the university and you make yourself dumber. The same is true for every time they give Beyonce a Grammy. Sorry.
A friend of mine, this is such a great point. A friend of mine who went to an Ivy League university says, you know, her argument always was for inclusivity. She says, when you include more people, greatness isn't sort of how many people are in the room. And people always say, oh, how high is the ceiling? That's not how you judge great.
Yeah, you dilute.
No, you must lift the floor. Yeah, what's the floor of the institution? If the floor is high, then it's likely to be great. So if your floor is a 7 and your roof's a 10, awesome.
Okay, so we're talking about this because there's a big story at the moment, and we'll probably get into it in the headlines just now, but all the students are protesting, and there was even a girl was shot with a rubber bullet yesterday, apparently, at Wits. Now, if they're all going to university to get degrees because degrees put you at a certain level where you're more desirable to employers, that's really what they're doing. They want to get employed. If that's the case, then once everybody is at university, how is it special anymore? Do you know what I mean? It's like if everybody can do Michael Jackson music, if everyone can write songs like Michael Jackson did, then he's not so special anymore. Right? The same goes here. And especially because now the headline yesterday, because we were at ENCA recording, so I'm not knocking them, but this is the headline they used. The battle against financial exclusion continues. Okay, so that's the headline. Now, first of all, I didn't get a bursary, and my parents paid for my university degree until I was working, and I had to then pay them back. So I didn't have a student loan unless you consider my parents a student loan, in which case I still had to pay them back, right? And they charged me the full thing. And I'm really pleased they did. I had to pay. When I got my first job, I had to pay them back. Now, if the state is paying for you to go and live in a dormitory or a hostel at varsity, and they're paying for you to go out, like Leanne Moll was telling us last night, yesterday morning, every night, and you're just drinking with your friends, but the state is paying for you to be at university, and you don't even pass your first year, which most of them don't, right? Most of our students in this country do not pass first year. Then why are we wasting? Why? Hey, dude, I screwed up so badly. Why do you think my parents made me pay back? If I'd actually passed everything, they would have probably said to me, go ahead, like my brother, who did get a bursary. He's cleverer than me. Anyway, the fact is, if we're going to give you money up front to do first year and you're going to fail it, there's no way we should. Why should we cancel your student debt? You've failed. You should have to pay.
And everybody always says Scandinavia. No, I know how it works. Is in Scandinavia, they will pay for your university. If you fail, you pay for all of it. So if you fail a year, and I'm speaking, I know specifically about Finland and Sweden. So we'll pay for your university, absolutely, right? We'll give you that money. If you fail 1 year, we expect all of it back, by the way. So this idea...
Sorry, I just want to show you something. While we're on the Grammys, this is hilarious. Just look at this quickly. This came up. Sam Smith shut out of male and female Brit Awards categories after declaring himself non-binary. So he's actually been rendered ineligible because he declared himself non-binary, so they don't know what category to put him in, so they're just not going to give him a category to be in. Isn't that hilarious?
That
so
is.
Sam Smith, who by the way keeps changing his mind about what he is.
Is this
I
real?
don't know. Yeah, that's
Well,
100% true.
Is
Wow.
They are being left out of the awards, and this is what's going to happen. Because people go, they look at it and they go, it's too much of a hot potato. If we put him in the female category, then he's going to be upset. If we put him in the male category, he's going to be upset. So let's just not give him an award at all.
Isn't
It's
it
like
hilarious?
You know how you stop inviting the people who are fussy eaters to Bry's? Same thing. The same thing. I'm talking to you, C.S. Sangweni.
I caught exactly what you were throwing my way. Thank you very much. You know what I'm going to do this afternoon? This is going to be my assignment. I am going to find exactly why Beyonce is technically one of the best singers of our time.
Where are you going to find that? Are you going to journey to hell?
Beyonce.com. Yeah.
Where are you going to find that information?
Beyonce.com.
Who's going to be a credible? Who's going to be a credible person once they've said that?
Oh, you know what? I will find a music teacher. That's what I need to do. I'll find a music teacher. We'll talk about the range and the music notes.
Bring it on. I'll take on a music teacher. You know how many people used to pitch up in front of us?
Who do you think is the best?
I'll get Randall, and he and I will talk to your music teacher. She'll leave crying. Trust me.
You know what?
Unbelievable to me.
Deal.
Bring your music teacher. The two of us will explain exactly why she shouldn't be a music teacher anymore. She'll go and quit her job afterwards.
True.
I'm a survivor. I'm gonna make it. I'm a survivor. Keep on surviving.
You see that? Listen to how horrible. Even you managed to make that horrible song sound average to semi shit.
That is Destiny's Child.
If you find someone, I used to like Destiny's Child, as I say, thank goodness for Michelle and Kelly. Beyonce was the looks, and she still is. She's a beautiful woman. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
She's magnificent to look at. She plays the role beautifully. She dresses up in all those fancy frocks and things. She's a package deal. But the voice, no, it's not much to remark on. Seriously. She was the decoration. And she's very good at being that. Anyway, if you get someone to say that Beyonce is a great singer, and you will find people like that, you'll find some of them just because they're fans, they'll say that. Then I will find someone who could say that Billie Eilish is a happy person, because I can also find a liar.
I'll be objective. I'll produce this segment. I will find someone who is. All right. Who will just be technically objective. But when it comes to that angelic voice, that brought us the likes of Check Up On It, Single Ladies, Who Runs the World, Diva. Oh, my.
I'm so excited.
We are living in the times of Beyonce. What a blessing.
What was that song you were talking about? Spirit. That one. You got to play that one.
Watch the heavens. Oh,
there we go. Look. Let me just show you something. I just want to show you the face that could. You know how Helen of Troy in Greek mythology. Helen of Troy was the face that could launch 1,000 ships. Right? She was so beautiful. Here's the face that could sink 1,000 ships. Billie Eilish. Look at that. What a misery.
I don't.
You ever seen anybody look so unhappy?
I wonder what she's so unhappy about.
She's writing songs with her brother. She's making tons of money.
Is
what
she
happened
depressed?
Of
course she is. Everybody's depressed these days. Didn't you know? Everybody's on medication.
I'm learning.
This is the name I was looking for earlier. Sorry, randomly. The Edge. No one looks at Bono and The Edge and said that they look so sad. Let Billie Eilish be.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll refer you back to tapes of this show. You can go and listen to where I said Bono should shut up about politics when he's singing his dumb songs.
Also, Bono, a bit of an Irish Beyonce.
And he'd say, every time I clap my hands, sorry, Irish accent. Every time I clap my hands, someone dies in Africa. And someone shouted from the crowd, well, stop fucking clapping. So Tremaine, Beyonce is an amazing live performer. She puts on great events. Yes, she does.
100%.
I'm not disputing that. That's not part of what I'm criticizing her for. But here we go. JLM says, Beyonce made the Lion King remake 4 times worse.
Yeah, it was bad enough. It was bad enough without Beyonce.
Oh, horrible. Lenice says, who's Beyonce? Right. Well,
Wow.
we're gonna do some headlines. In fact, you know what I want to do today? I think I want to go to JJ Cornish. We always seem to squeeze JJ in just before the news, and I want to give him a bit of runway today because there's so much to talk about. So let's go to our Africa expert in Africa analysis. JJ Cornish is a journalist editor. He's an authoritative commentator on African affairs, and we're going to catch up with him now. This is brought to you by the Johannesburg Business School, and we're looking at what's going on the African continent. So good morning to you, JJ. How are you, sir?
Bonjour to you. I'm exceedingly well. Any better, I would have to tell the cops.
Well, it's nice to see you. So tell us, JJ, what's the big news at the moment? What's going on in the continent that you're most interested in right now before we get into our looking at a specific country?
Well, I mean, we have the AstraZeneca fiasco. It's very interesting that South Africa, I'm told from reliable sources, is trying to sell off the 1 million doses that it bought, that it doesn't want to use for various reasons, not the blood clot reason. Good luck to them now. I don't think that it's the most marketable product that they've had. And I think it runs out. It expires in about April. So they're going to have to, I don't know, sell it at a discount. It seems that we've made a loss on that one. But otherwise, very interesting elections around the place in Cote d'Ivoire and Comoros. Central African Republic. Generally, things are looking well. There was a very interesting story about the Benham bronze sold for a record amount at an auctioneer. This is a bronze stolen in the 18th century. By colonialists, or 19th century, and then owned by a Jewish man who took them out of Germany when he fled the Nazis, hid them. He died. His son sold most of them and then left one saying, I've got it in a bank vault, but don't sell it unless there's another Holocaust. And then the bank got hold of the family and said, yo, we're closing our vaults, we're closing our safety deposit boxes. You come and get what you own now. And they went in and got this beautiful, beautiful bronze. But it just sort of, that fantastic story between the people fleeing the genocide, but then being complicit in a sense or buying stolen goods. So that, before that, bronzes were going for a couple of £1,000. Or even hundreds of pounds. Now suddenly 10 million. The Nigerians, because this Benham bronze comes from there, are saying, hey, this just shows you, this is stuff that was looted from us. It's our heritage. We want it back. And so it's a story I've been following and will continue to follow. We'll talk about it every time something comes up. We have the weather turning a little, so more people taking a chance getting across the Mediterranean, and we had a big drowning last week again. Very sad to say. So not looking for. I'm sort of instructed to look for good news, and it's difficult. As a journalist, what do I give you? The good stories, the big stories, or look for the good stories? You have to. It's mixing it up, leavening the loaf, always trying to find something positive. And then in pushing for something positive, finding that you have to miss out on the big stuff.
Yeah, but look, listen, this is one of the reasons we like doing this with you is because we don't just get the stories that are in the news, which are often bad news. That's the nature of news. But we also get to find out about particular countries. And today we're doing a little bit of a spotlight on a country which I've always been fascinated by it because in some ways, people have called it the most corrupt country in the whole world. It's a bit of a family business, really. It's run by Teodoro Obiang Nguema and his family, and it's called Equatorial Guinea. And thanks to the Joburg Business School and you, otherwise we'd never find out about these places. So tell us about Equatorial Guinea. It's tiny, first of all, isn't it?
Well, here's a barroom type quiz you can do. You know, if you can win money in a bar with naming the 7 dwarfs and stuff like this, you ask how many Spanish-speaking countries are there in Africa? And many people might say, well, yeah, they know of one somewhere, but the fact is there are 2. There's Sahara, Western Sahara, which was a Spanish colony and is Spanish as a national language, and Equatorial Guinea, the others. The Spaniards let go of Equatorial Guinea after 190 years of holding it. They were given it by the Portuguese, and
Right.
that was 68. Since then, they had Macias Nguema and then Teodoro Nguema. Now, Teodoro took over took over 40 years ago by killing his uncle Macias. And the 2 of them, according to Human Rights Watch, are probably 2 of the most brutal and corrupt dictators that Africa has the misadventure to have at the helm. The thing is, in the mid-90s, they found oil in Equatorial Guinea. So there we are. And this is the so-called curse of the resource. Look at Angola. Look at Nigeria, the 2 countries that are bigger producers than Equatorial Guinea. And none of them have benefited, as it were, from the oil. It's gone into people. Look at the Dos Santos family. Gone into their back sky, the money. And in the same with Teodoro Obiang Nguema. There are people looking for him. His son was convicted in France recently of, you know, owning a number of houses and had stuff seized. Luxury motor car seems to be the big thing for them. I suppose if you're in the oil industry, it makes sense.
He also owned some property in Cape Town at some point, and they came after him for that as well, didn't they?
I remember something like that. I mean, Teodoro Obiang Nguema loomed large on the South African news radar when in 2004, an old Etonian named Simon Mann was in charge of a coup. And
Mark Thatcher involved in that too?
Mark Thatcher was part of the finance, and he actually copped a plea. He pleaded, took a plea bargain, and was convicted in South Africa of having financed that. You know, if ever he ended up in Equatorial Guinea, he would have had to, I don't know what, to stay out of jail.
They had a famous jail there called the Black Rock Jail, right?
Black Beach.
I can't remember.
Jail, yeah. Black Beach Jail. It's a rotten joint. And a guy called Nick Detroit, who was waiting for his fellow mercenaries, he and 8 others were arrested and held at Black Beach. So it's one of those places, you know, when you buy a T-shirt saying I was visiting there, the Black Beach one would get you the most respect. I think it's more, you know, if I wanted to prove my masculinity, I'd wear a Black Beach T-shirt ahead of my comrades marathon one any day of the week. But I mean, I shouldn't make jokes about that sort of thing. Simon Mann, old Etonian, leading 69 mercenaries. They are allowed to take off from Polokwane. They have a bird strike which brings the plane down, a 737 Boeing with 69 mercenaries aboard and a lot of military equipment. The Zimbabweans say, where are you going? So we were on our way to DRC to protect the diamond mines there. When they do some investigation, they find this not to be the case. Simon Mann ends up doing 3 or 4 years in prison in Zimbabwe. Then he's extradited. He tries his level best to avoid extradition to Equatorial Guinea. One can understand why. And he serves less than 2 years of the 34-year sentence he got there. But there were South Africans, one of the 8 who were there died in detention. So it's a pretty rough country. Now, it's a 1.4 million population, the majority of whom live under the poverty line, even though they have oil. one of its neighbors, Gabon, which has the highest per capita income in Africa, Equatorial Guinea claims to have the third. It probably does have, in terms of, once it evens out among all of them. But Obiang Nguema, he's held office in the African Union. He's not, the African Union's supposed to lower the boom on African countries that have abused human rights. They don't seem to have done that to Teodoro Obiang Nguema. So it's very interesting. Human Rights Watch put him, are absolutely scathing about him and the uncle that he killed to become president. Transparency International put him in something like 164 of 180 countries in terms of ranking. Right. And so they do call him, among the very, very most corrupt. I mean, the only ones more corrupt are something like Syria and Venezuela, and I think Somalia beats him in African terms. But 16 out of 100 in terms of its score on fighting corruption. So it's an abysmal country. It's a tiny little country. It has a little part on the mainland, but then there are 5 little islands, and the island of Bata, the largest city, is on one of those little islands. But why are we talking about Equatorial Guinea now? Is that last week a dynamite storage in a military installation blew up, killing over 100 people. And here, the country with the 3rd largest per capita income, the first thing Teodoro Obiang Nguema does is say, we need international help to start rebuilding. So, whatever money they make from the oil goes straight into bank accounts around the world, not for the betterment of the Guinean people, sadly. And he's having to negotiate, or before the explosion even, having to negotiate a loan from the IMF. Again, something that a country as supposedly rich as Equatorial Guinea shouldn't have to do.
So you mentioned how rich they are in terms of their per capita, per person kind of GDP spread across the whole population. The fact is, though, that Teodoro Obiang Nguema takes most of that, and clearly his son as well. Now, what kind of a person is he? Do we know much about him? I mean, apart from the fact that he murdered his uncle and his son's going to jail, and he doesn't sound like a very savory character. How old is he? How long do you think he still has there? And is there a plan to replace him with anyone? I mean, are there constant coups like in so many other countries?
No coups. 40 years in power, the longest serving African leader. Isn't that amazing that we can on this continent have people who've sat at the helm for that long? But they have fissions within the family. They're trying. A brother-in-law is now on trial or having his goods seized in Spain. They have the guy who tried for the coup in '94. He was so they have exile groups that are planning were trying to take over, but none of them have managed. So Teodoro Obiang Nguema hangs on. His son, the guy with his fleet of luxury cars and houses all over Europe, he is the vice president. So assuming that the Obiang Nguema family, his Teodorin Obiang Nguema, that family are going to continue in power, as long
for a long time. So they don't even have to change. They don't even have to change the initials on his cars or suitcases. It's still Teodoro. They just add an INE at the end.
There we go. Yes.
Unbelievable.
Very good. So, I don't know. It would be like Yves Saint Laurent getting naming a daughter or a son with the same initials,
right?
Or Hermes or Louis Vuitton naming Louise Vuitton as the successor. Yeah.
So what eventually happened to Mark Thatcher and Simon Mann? Because they tried to take it over. I mean, you would think it was a country ripe for the picking if you were a mercenary, and they obviously did. That's why they took 60 odd people over there, and they thought that would be enough. So they were very.
Simon Mann is being pursued by a lot of people, a lot of the mercenaries, and I don't know, if I'd sleep soundly if I was being pursued. He lives somewhere in the New Forest now, He must be 70 years old by now, Simon, man. Yeah, something like that, or very close to that. And he was one of the people that started Executive Outcomes here in South Africa, or the mercenary group. I remember running a half marathon sponsored by Executive Outcomes. A group of mercenaries sponsoring a half marathon in Pretoria. That's what drew it to my attention, and I started writing stories about them thereafter. There was I can't remember the name of their commander. Interesting guy. He had one of those interesting individuals look at you, and you wonder why it seems so strange. He's got one green eye, one blue eye, looking at you, wearing these handmade cowboy boots, and trying to persuade you that they were doing good. The Simon Man had a litany of operations. He made a lot of money out of Angola. Angola hired him. He lost a lot of reputation with an operation, the Sandline International, that he bought after Executive Outcomes folded, and that had some unfortunate business in Papua New Guinea. So he is evading the mercenaries somewhere in the New Forest, because they were saying, you've got to help us. And in jail, he kept apart from them, so nobody knows, what's going to happen to these people who would have lost a lot of money and health in Black Beach prison.
Unbelievable. Well, JJ, I mean, listen, we didn't know a damn thing about Equatorial Guinea compared to what we know now. And I remember the funny story that I have about Equatorial Guinea is that Mabali, who used to be on the show with us, she was an attractive young woman. She got a friend request from someone purporting to be Teodoro Obiang Nguema on Facebook. It might have been the real one. We don't know.
Well, I would say no harm in getting a hold of them on social media, but don't go and book a ticket there. I mean, I got a visa after an enormous battle to get to Equatorial Guinea. And my principals at the time, past principals, said, "Oh no, we can't afford to send you there." They've done that all again and again. Every time I got in with the French forces fighting in Mali, one journalist to be embedded there. I was over the moon. It took me months to get it, and they said, "No, it's going to cost too much." So I was hamstrung by them again and again. And I'm sorry I didn't get to Equatorial Guinea at the time of that trial. It would have been very, very interesting.
Well, it's always interesting hearing your take on these things, and we're delighted to have African analysis with you every week because there's never a dull moment. JJ Cornish, and this is brought to you by the Johannesburg Business School. It's good to see you, JJ. Thanks so much.
All the best.
Very good. A biento. There he is, JJ Cornish. I mean,
His life is like a movie.
But doesn't that sound like the most incredibly lawless, insane, anarchic place? I mean, it's just, if 69 odd mercenaries think they could take over your country, then what kind of a country? It's like a spaza shop. It's not a country.
My favorite part
is spaza shop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My favorite part is JJ goes, I can't believe I missed out on that war zone. I could have been there.
No, he's like that. He's insane.
His life is a movie.
It really is. All right, so I didn't give you any headlines. Let me give you a couple of those and see what we can teach you here this morning. What we can see is going on in the world, not teach you. I know that people know what's going on. So, of course, we've been speaking about the students. They continue to protest. There was a student who was shot. And apparently there are more student protests expected today. Here's a list of their demands. Do you want to hear what they're demanding? Listen to this. Okay. Financial clearance of historical debt. So in other words, that's 13 billion rand that you and me and everybody else who pays tax, we have to pay it. All right? How do you feel about that? Yes, no?
What's historical debt?
Means this is stuff that they don't want to pay that they want you to pay for them. In other words, these people who've already done some university and now they want you to pay that off for them because they don't want to be saddled with the debt. They want the degree, but they don't want the debt. Okay?
And do you say that's a billion or million?
Billion. 13
billion.
13 billion rand. Okay. They want the immediate provision of postgraduate funding. So not only must you pay for their bachelor's degrees, but you must also help them get their master's and doctoral degrees, which means essentially you keep them in sheltered education where their food and board and lodging and everything else is paid for, and they get to study stupid courses like, I don't know, critical race theory, for example.
I was going to say, I'm happy to pay for doctors. I'm happy to pay for surgeons. I'm happy to pay for scientists.
No,
I am not paying for contemporary art dance.
Yeah.
For them to do a PhD in historical dance.
But hang on, if you think that that's reasonable, I'll change your mind. I have lots of time, and I've got the whole list of demands in front of me here. You're not going to believe what else is on here. They want laptops for all students.
Oh.
Yeah. Now you must also provide them with laptops. Student allowances to be provided in March. Allowances. I didn't even get that from my parents. Okay. Increase student enrollment quotas. So in other words, fill the universities up even if they don't have capacity. Free registration for all students during the 2021 academic year. Again, who's paying for this, guys? Do you think the university just runs on fresh air? You must provide students with academic records and certificates even if they still owe fees. 0% fee increase for the academic year. Free quality education for the poor and the missing middle. Suspension of academic exclusion for the 2021 academic year. 100% return of all students to campuses under level 1 of the lockdown. Why? Because they're sick of being at home. Extension of registration period to 30 April. And NSFAS appeals to be open and finalized within the next 2 weeks. That's what they want. They want all of those things. How's that, huh?
I always tend to be overly sympathetic to poor people because my parents are poor, or they were poor in order to get out. And I don't mean like Soweto poor, rural poor, and they both managed. And my father then proceeded to take 8 people from home of his siblings and pay for their university. So I struggle with just free. By the way, not everyone should be in university because it's a hell of a thing to be in there. Again, like you were saying earlier. But the one I have a problem with is I am not paying for Sally or Skumbuzo to go and do marketing. I'm sorry.
No, I agree.
This country needs engineers. If you're doing something BSc, and I'm talking also serious parts of BSc, I'm not paying for a numbnut. Idiots like me should not be paid for to go on a holiday for 2 years of your varsity degree. I'm sorry, I'm not paying for that.
No, you shouldn't have to. And here's a story talking about idiots. South Africa is likely to have load shedding for the next 5 years, according to Eskom. The CEO operator says the power utility will have a shortfall in electricity supply. Old power stations are the main reason for the blackouts. And I don't know about you guys, but I've told you about the light in my room that tells me when there's been load shedding. Well, it went off twice last night. So I know I somewhere between, what was it? Must have been 10 o'clock when I eventually got to sleep and 5 a.m. this morning. Twice there was load shedding in my house. So I don't know how many times you experienced it last night, but these guys, again, proving that anything that the government touches, anything that the parastatals try to run is just a complete disaster. And there are no two ways about it, right? It's ridiculous. The US is to train Mozambican forces to fight jihadists. You know that Mozambique's got this big problem, especially up in the north of Mozambique, with essentially these El Shabaab. I always want to call them El Kebab. But they're El Shabaab militants who are basically militant Islamists who are spreading Islam by the sword and also taking a whole lot of natural resources, converting people on pain of death, taking women, taking children, enslaving people. There's huge amounts of violence. It's a humanitarian crisis. And the U.S. Embassy in Maputo said in a statement that Washington was providing medical and communications equipment. Mozambique has turned to private military companies to help contain the attacks, but has faced criticism from rights groups who have accused mercenaries and government forces of shooting civilians in incidents amounting to war crimes. The jihadists, a shadowy group known locally as Al-Shabaab, pledged loyalty to the Islamic State in 2019. They're accused of numerous atrocities, including beheadings and the desecration of corpses. So, lovely people.
Shadowy is an understatement, but okay, let's go with shadowy group.
Right. Mbulelo, it wouldn't be right for me to not give you a moment to talk about Messi celebrating again in his leveling of Xavi's records with a double against Huesca. Now, what's going on in sport generally? Is there anything noteworthy to discuss here?
Nothing really. Michael Schumacher's son's like in Formula One now, which is pretty cool. I guess he's back. I mean, there's sort of the general stuff going on. But Leo Messi, I mean, he's just an animal. We're gearing up for Euros, which should be pretty fun. By the way, we pitched. So everyone must align all your chakras. We've pitched that Cliff Central Sport must be a part of the media team there. So we'd love to be reporting from Euros in June. So that's probably that's the biggest news in sports right now, Gareth.
I agree.
Cliff Central Sport is the biggest news in sport.
Yeah, good for you.
I'll align my Shaka Khans for you.
Yes. Now there was a great singer, Sia. You talk about Beyonce. Chaka Khan, way better than Beyonce. Way better with her eyes closed and two hands tied behind her back. All right. So the DA has cancelled some Limpopo Congress 5 days before the event because this is the reason they give. They say the election of new provincial leaders in that country, that province. They said that the decision was taken during Sunday night's Federal Executive Committee meeting. It based the decision on information that recently emerged, which could have an implication on the province's elections. It's understood this was linked to charges facing long-standing provincial leader, a guy called Yuck Smoller, who is accused of several transgressions, including the abuse of party funds. So just again, in case you were wondering, it's not just the ANC that have rotten people in their party. It's the DA too. There are rotten people. Yeah, correct. There are rotten people in politics. And if you're surprised by that, you really haven't been paying attention. And finally, Joe Biden has got major problems. You remember when everybody was talking about Trump has cages and children are kept in cages? Remember that? Well, it turns out Joe Biden's cages, which are the same ones Trump used at the border, now contain 760% more children than they can contain. These kids are getting a shower once every 7 days if they're lucky. This is inhumane. Can you imagine how this would have been all over the headlines if it was Donald Trump? But because it's dotard Joe Biden, the media are giving him a free pass. This is a disgrace. I mean, imagine keeping children in conditions where there are 760% overcapacity and they can't wash more than once every 7 days. Children that have been taken away from their parents. Why is this happening? I'll tell you why. Because Biden's immigration policy is making people want to cross the border illegally. And as they do that, they have to do something with these people's children because they aren't always their children. And you imagine what that means. Child sex slavery and all kinds of other horrible things. So something has to be done about this. And Joe Biden's government seems completely incapable of dealing with the crisis because they don't want to be seen to be anti-immigrant. And yet they're treating children like this. And what's the media doing? Ignoring it completely. So we have to mention it here this morning. Sorry about that. Sorry to ruin your breakfast, but that's what we've got to tell you. So anyway, there's some useful information. Those are the headlines for this morning. And we are going to be back in a couple of minutes. We've got more for you. Lots of cool stuff. Lots to talk about. Mbulelo's with us. We got an email about you, Mbulelo, that I can't wait to tell you about. All of that and more on the way. Yes, stick around. cliffcentral.com. And by the way, if you haven't already done it, you need to immediately subscribe to our YouTube channel. And while you're there, you may as well subscribe to Cliff Central Sport as well. Bulelo is going to tell you more about that. But if you haven't already subscribed to both, you need to. It'll give you all the information, the notifications. You got to click on the little bell. You got to like it, blah, blah, blah. You know what to do, the whole thing. That way we can be aware of what's going on. We can let you know in advance when something cool's happening, and you will be in the inner circle trademark of Cliff Central. So we'll be able to give you all the most important information. All right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. cliffcentral.com, Tuesday morning. And don't forget, I've also got to give you the one thing for the week, which I promised we'd do every Tuesday. We haven't missed one yet. I'm going to do today's next. Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who's the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you grunt when getting out of the car? Creak when getting out of bed? Do you walk into a room and forget why? Are you having trouble in the sack? Is the hump in a slump? Join me, Chris Haven-Smith, and Dr. Mark on the T-Health Show every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. where we talk to medical and allied professionals about those serious and not so serious medical lifestyle issues. The T-Health Show, sponsored by the T-Clinic. The T-Health Show is available on podcasts. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
We live in a rapidly changing world, but how we get paid remains stubbornly outdated.
We have this archaic payday cycle.
The Future of Pay is a podcast series that explores the impact that the current salary status quo has on South Africans.
When you are desperate, you will do anything to get that money to put food on your table for your family by tomorrow evening.
And how innovative startup SmartWage is looking to change things.
There's a very simple problem here. People are waiting till the end of the month to get paid, and the impact is that they can't afford expenses that come up during the middle of the month.
The Future of Pay, brought to you by SmartWage, available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we are back. Let's get going. It is time for us to get back in the saddle, cliffcentral.com. It's Tuesday. It is the 16th of March. Hey, we've got a public holiday next Monday. Don't forget about that, huh? Everybody's excited. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, next Monday is a public holiday. So the Sunday is the holiday, so we get the Monday off because, of course, we wouldn't want our country to be any less lazy than we are. We need to have an extra day off.
South Africans work too
For a
hard.
bad.
So
Yeah.
I want to play you something just quickly to give you an idea. We often say mean things about government, but I want to play you a clip from Newsroom Africa, which someone sent me, featuring Becky Cele, the Minister of Police. And I'll let you guys comment on this. I'm not going to say anything, but I just want you to see what the Minister of Police says. Take a look at this. This is really interesting.
Whilst we're on the issue of leadership problems at the South African Police Service, the fate of the crime intelligence head, Peter Jacobs. Just first up, is Peter Jacobs still head of crime intelligence right now?
I don't know.
How can you not know, Minister?
You know what? I don't know.
But that would be astounding, Minister, for a whole minister to not know who the head of crime intelligence is in the...
Unbelievable. He doesn't know. And then he asks him again, what do you mean? He goes, you know what? I don't know. You go first, Bulelo. What do you make of this? This is the Minister of Police who doesn't know whether the head of crime intelligence is there or not.
As the once great Julius Malema ever said, was that we cannot go there for intelligence. There's no intelligence there to be found. Number one, that Bigicele is the most... Listen, politicians, I find revolting across the board. He is such an... Oh, man.
Gangster.
He's dressed like a movie gangster clown. Yeah. He'd be the clown. Yeah. He'd be the stooge of all the guys, right? Of the... that is our minister. Imagine. I wonder what people in Luxembourg would say. You see, that's your minister of. Oh my God. But I'm not shocked. He's a clown. He's not to be taken seriously. Him and Balula.
I do admire the honesty. Like he says, I don't know, which politicians never say that. They always say something like, oh no, we're working on it, or it's complicated or whatever. But he just says straight up, like, Angas.
Well, this one you can't really wiggle your way out of. It's a very, very simple yes or no answer.
Listen, I've seen politicians wiggle themselves out of even tighter situations than that, but you got to admire at least the honesty. But it's damn disappointing and depressing to think that guy's in charge. Now, crime intelligence, by the way, is the department that allows us to track and figure out what's actually going on criminally in the country. It's databases of fingerprints and the firearms registry and evidence collection, all of that stuff. It's massively important. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to the headlines recently, but I don't like talking too much about crime on this show because it tends to make it sound like we're whining all the time about crime,
Crime,
The fact is, though, that our ability to fart crime is at an all-time low. And people like Becky Cele in charge of it just made it a whole lot worse. It's unreal.
You know what? How do you do satire on what you've just watched there? Like, could you imagine trying to do a skit? That is a skit. That is a skit.
It's written itself. There it is. That awkward silence was piercing. It's just...
And just quickly, while we're talking about politicians, just have a look at this quickly. This is the Minister of Finance in Poland. Now, this is not a joke. I'm going to show you a picture of him. You know what I'm talking about here. Just look at this quickly. This is the Minister of Finance in Poland. All right?
Oh.
He looks like a 12-year-old. He looks like he's 12 playing dress up as a kid's idea of a grown man. He's 29 years old. He looks 12. Take a look at the picture. If you're not on YouTube, you need to see this. His name is Piotr Patkowski. He's Poland's, Deputy Finance Minister, not Finance Minister, Deputy Finance Minister. It looks like someone's kid that they've just picked up from primary school, and he's smoking a cigarette in the one picture. And
which is worse.
I know, it's terrible. But this is for real. He is actually the Deputy Finance Minister of Poland, and he's all of 29 years old in real life, but he looks 12.
Are we sure it wasn't like take your little brother to work day in Poland?
Yeah, you know what it looks like?
Yeah.
It looks like someone put Richie Rich in a suit. If you remember Macaulay Culkin as Richie Rich, it's like somebody's taken Macaulay Culkin at 6 or whatever and just built a tiny little suit for him.
Yes.
I feel bad for people like him, and I think he's a very extreme case. But there's some people who still have a very baby face, or there's some people who can't, for men who can't grow facial hair. So you just always look a little young. So those people, I have to say, I can't really take seriously. You can scream at me however much you want. You can wag your finger at me, but I look at you and I go, nah, okay, little kid.
And he's all of his features are so soft. He's like pasty and no jawline, tiny little jaw. It's hilarious.
I just thought it was really funny. Someone posted it on Instagram and sent it to me yesterday. I was like, this can't be real. And then I looked him up in Google, and there's more pictures of him, and he does actually look like that. All right, Bulelo, some feedback for you, because you haven't been on the show for a while now, and people are very excited to see you this morning. I don't know if you've seen all the comments and all the people saying, oh, we're thrilled to have Bulelo back. But here's an email, okay, and this one comes from Kazakhstan, where we know we've got Caleb, who's working in Kazakhstan. Caleb's originally from Zimbabwe, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. Is he in Kurdistan or Kazakhstan? I thought he was in Kurdistan. Or was that the same place?
Kurdistan, you're right. Sorry. See, you mentioned those countries. I just want to sneeze. So Kurdistan, according to him, Kurdistan's getting warmer. It's up to 40 degrees in the coming weeks. And apparently that's just normal for summer. So it's hot the whole time in summer. but like really hot, like not South Africa hot, like Uppington plus, you know. He says, question, who drinks more Woolies water and who has the most animated pseudo white accent from the water? This is very racist. Caleb thinks he can get away with this because he's black. So here are the names. You get to choose. Who drinks more Woolies water, everybody? Is it A, Mbulelo, B, Mutsi Maimane, C, Peter Ndoro, or D, Mbulelo Mbangwa, who's the Supersport cricket anchor?
Oh, Pommy Mbangwa there. Jeez, that is unbelievable.
What do we think? I mean, what do we make of this? Do you even want to give this question any serious consideration, Mbulelo, or do you think it's just straight up discrimination?
You know what? Because I've had this. This is how I've sounded since I was young. You know, so these accusations have been thrown at me, but I do pretty well because Pommy gets the British accent going every now and then. Pommy Mbangwa on the cricket like that. So he.
Firstly, the fact that he's Pommy says quite a lot.
Oof, yeah, that's tough. And Peter Ndoro, of course.
Peter Ndoro is the greatest. We spoke about Peter just the other day. He's marvelous. All right, so there we go. All right. Anyway, I hope you don't cancel me for this question.
I love that email.
Poll, and if we need to get Pumi to tie break if there's a tie break here as well. I'm listening to old episodes of Keeping Up with the Calvaries, and yes, if that show could return, Damon and Bernice were great. Radio died a long time ago, and when are we hosting the funeral? Now would be best because no one would care to attend. That's from Caleb. All right. Well, actually, that was one of the things I wanted to do when I left radio and started Cliff Central. I wanted to have a public funeral down the streets of Auckland Park, but they stopped me. They said you were not allowed to do that. So I thought, all right. Here's an interesting point. This is from Woody. He says, I'm 33 and I look like I'm 26 or 28. My height's 1.6 meters, 1.68, and my shoe size is 5. It's when I was 25, I bounced at a club because the bouncer thought I was underage.
Oh, wow.
Sure. Okay. So you have the same problem as the same problem as the deputy finance minister of Poland, Woody. Yeah. That's very good. Here's an answer for our question from Ash. Ash says 100% Peter Ndoro is the most Woolworths drinking guy on that lineup. All right, and then
I love that email.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So funny. Yeah, very funny.
Do you want to do the one thing for the week? Because Sia, I don't know if you ever did your self portrait. Did you do your self portrait? Because that's one we said we'd get back to, and we haven't yet.
I couldn't do that. It was too self-deprecating for me, which speaks volumes as to the assignment.
I've got this one. This is Dov Fedler, the famous South African cartoonist. He did this one of me a while ago. And it's my favorite cartoon of myself. So that's a real, I mean, I didn't do it. It's not a self-portrait, but it's a version of me that I like. So I'm going to use that. I'll use that as my one. But if you haven't done your self-portrait yet,
isn't the idea you do it yourself?
Right. Okay. I'll do it. I'll do it today.
Okay, fine. We'll hold ourselves accountable next week.
You can use any medium you like. But so for today, the one thing for the week is Judgment Day. All right. You have to prepare. Now you have to prepare for Judgment Day. You have to fill in a self-assessment form. I'm going to give you a couple of things and you have to tick them off if you've done them or you haven't, right? So in Judgment Day, it's like the screen. If you're looking at us on YouTube now, there are 3 parts to Judgment Day. There's the good, your good deeds. That would be, let's say that's the Sia part of the show or the part of the form. Then there's the bad deeds, your sins. That's Mbulelo. And then there's the other stuff, which is me. All right, so let's start off with your good deeds, okay? You must list a bunch of things that you think are your good deeds. It could be, for example, helping a blind person across the street, comforting a crying child, returning a lost wallet, giving to a charity, curing the sick, feeding the hungry, helping the aged, saving a cat up a tree, planting a tree, forgiving an enemy, going to church, having been a good listener, being faithful to your spouse, drying the dishes without being asked, Those are the kinds of things you're going to put down there, right? And then each of those will score you 1 point. So you can say under good deeds, you get, like, let's say you get 7 out of 10, then it looks pretty good for you. Then your sins. Are you ready for sins?
Okay.
Number 1, fornicated with strangers. Lied to your own mother. Murdered your father. Stole ice cream from a child.
Now, can we put an asterisk on that one?
Why?
If the child was asleep,
and I do want to say, I once did do that. By the way,
you stole ice cream from a child.
I once this lady was walking a pram. I can't remember where I was, somewhere global, and I took an ice cream out of her pram because it had like little pockets. So hey, it's Judgment Day. I'm admitting.
Yeah, aren't you horrified? This is the most disgusting
lie on Judgment
thing.
Day.
What's wrong with you?
How embarrassing me. That was a different me.
The fact that how old were you when this happened?
Oh, in my mid-20s. No. This was, that happened. At least I'm willing to admit it, you know?
All right, but I'm like, so that would go on your list of sins. How about this one? Envied everyone I met. That counts as 1 point. Was gluttonous as a baby or an adult. There are lots of people who are going to have to write that one down. Sacrificed goats to Satan. Have you ever done that?
Please let there be someone who has done that. Just let the truth set you free. Call us, email, send a pigeon to us. Tell us when and why you did that. It is Judgment Day after all.
Borrowed a library book forever. Masturbated uncontrollably. Skipped Sunday school. Or told an orphan that they were ugly. That's pretty mean.
The last one?
Yes. Last one. Told an orphan that they were ugly. So now work out your sins. It'll give you a total out of 10. Work out your good deeds. It'll give you a total out of 10. In the final category, these are other ones, all right? These you might win or lose a couple of points. You know, if God's feeling particularly kind or charitable, he might let you in on the basis of these. I've knitted someone something out of wool. That'll get you an extra half a point, for example. Holidayed in some beautiful place more than once and didn't feel guilty about it. That'll get you another point. Bulelo, you'd have to put that down. Kept things in alphabetical order. That'll get you half a point in heaven. Yeah, that's true, Sia.
Okay.
But went to a Bon Jovi concert.
I would, but no, I haven't yet.
Okay, you haven't. So okay. Never really had a favorite film or favorite child. That's probably a good thing. that's a good thing. I got to be in middle management in a company. That's like a half a point if you got to be in middle management. And I once watched a documentary about an orphanage.
Oh, I actually have.
Oh, you have? What was that?
Yes.
Okay, so
depress you,
how are you squaring up there on the list? How did you do on Judgment Day?
For my sins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sins.
Yeah.
Other is listed as 2.
Okay.
And
2
then
points.
my good deeds are debatable because, well, I think I've done way more good than those conventional ones. So I'll give myself a full 10, even though I haven't helped a blind person over.
Are you saying you would get into heaven?
Yo. Ha! You know those girls at the club with the bottle service girls with the champagne and the sparklers? That's what I'll be doing in heaven. I'll just be there.
Oh, wow.
I don't doubt it for a second. That's very Sia. All right, so Bulelo, I'm not even going to ask because we all know you're going straight to hell. There's just 2 ways about it. You're going straight to hell with a handbag.
I stole an ice cream from a baby. Could you imagine the disappointment on the baby's face when the mom got home and there was no ice cream in there? Just imagine.
Gareth, where did you score?
Oh no! Listen, I think I'm probably going to hell. I don't even know what's on the list that is particularly my list of sins, but I know I'm going to hell. In any case, all the people I like will be in hell. I don't want to go to heaven.
Please post this up, Gareth, because so many people that do these lists do terrible, boring options that they're in, like Dross and like the GQ magazines, and there's no funny ones. This one's actually hilarious. I love.
You like the one about told an orphan that they were ugly.
I didn't like that one. It caught me off guard.
Right. Oh my God. All right. So this is kind of hilarious, and we've got to go to blind history later on. So we've got to squeeze in as much as we can now in between, and we've got limited time, and it's lots of questions from Bulelo, by the way, and we'll put all those to him. If you want to get hold of us, 0797482090, comment on YouTube, or comment in the comment section here, and we'll put it straight to him for you. But before we get to that, let me just play you a clip of Simmi Areff. We've been talking about Love Island for a little while now, because even though neither have you seen it yet, Sia? Because I still haven't seen it.
I won't even get invested right now. No.
So I swore I would give it a chance, and then I just forgot. I didn't schedule. I think the president spoke on the first night, so I watched him instead of Love Island when he took us back to level 1. And then I haven't had a chance to watch it since then. And I think they've removed some of the episodes from catch up, so you can't even watch it because they didn't have enough emergency blacks. Remember? It was too white. Yeah, they ran out of blacks, so they had to, and they couldn't find emergency blacks.
Well, don't host it in Cape Town then. There's no black people in Cape Town.
Ooh, you're gonna get into trouble. Anyway, so Simmi Areff, who's one of our comedian friends, he had this to say about Love Island. Have a look at this.
Yeah, so for Love Island, we're going to need more black people or people of color. I don't see a way how you're going to work around this. Yeah, so we couldn't find enough of the blacks or the people of color, so we just got a lot of tanned whites. Is that cool? Yeah, I mean, sounds safe to me. I mean, we'll also choose people that sound South African. Let me just show you an example. How's it? My name's Brian, I'm 24, and I do Forex banking. Yeah, and my life is about waking, baking, and protein shaking. And yeah, sun's out, guns out, and I'd love to be a contestant on Love Island, even though I'm short. That guy is fucking perfect.
That's what you're going to get if you're interested in Love Island.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
Simmi Areff, very funny dude. A lot of people asking, where is Gilly up to from last week? Because we loved having her on. I loved having Gilly on as well. She was terrific, but she can't do every week. She's going to join us when she can. And I know she was a big hit, but we decided to surprise you with second place in Bulelo Tinta this morning. So
some would say third place. Yeah. Some would say, hey, get him off the podium even.
Some would say third place. Correct.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed. Like, they're still going on about how there are not enough black people on Love Island. So we've got to talk about this because Mnet actually put out a statement. They promised.
Uh-oh.
This is so pathetic. Okay, because, by the way, nobody at SABC is saying, when they produce some horrible soap opera that there aren't enough whites in it. You know what I mean? Because they go...
I mean, if I really think back to it, in generation, I can actually count the white people in the generation's history.
I was in Generations once. I made a cameo.
Did you do it? Yeah.
I made a cameo. I made a cameo in Generations. It was my proudest moment on South African television.
Was Achimoroka back in the golden days?
I was on fucking Generations, man.
Right.
No
How
way.
have I not known this?
I went to I played myself because I'm a crap actor, and I went to a dance, and Sophie Ndaba was there, and it was a whole thing, dude. I was a cameo appearance in Generations for one episode. It's my proudest moment. Everything else I've done in television doesn't measure up.
Gareth, I have thought you were cool for a while. Yeah, you on Generations?
Generations.
That's one of those.
The old generation.
Yeah, with Achimoroka. No, not this crap that they're producing now. Wow, that is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Gareth, when was this?
Oh, ages ago, like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there.
I
good.
will find
I
it.
should remember this.
I'll find it.
All right.
I'll find it.
So listen, I just want to go back to Love Island for a second. So Mnet actually issued the statement. This is so pathetic. This is really, really bad. They've said they've apologized for their lack of diversity. They said Love Island will bring more diversity as the series progresses. Libo is a male black contestant who recently joined the show as a new islander. 26-year-old Tumni is garnering goodwill from viewers as the female black contestant on the show. Online digital spy magazine wrote, "Is it too late for Love Island to fix its whitewashing? Unless every prospective islander that will be introduced later into the show is black, it's probably too late. The media has a role to play in challenging racism, colorism, and anti-blackness. And one way to show that they can correct this in subsequent seasons is to simply take in black persons during their open casting." So basically, they just need blacks. They need emergency blacks. Hey, Simmi Areff, how are you, dude?
What up, Gareth? How are you? Can I just say one thing?
Do you feel like you're on stage with that microphone there? That looks so good, dude. You look like you're about to do
one of those really shitty Zoom call comedy gigs.
I like that. No, you've never done a shitty Zoom call ever.
Sure that's 100% true. I
love that clip that you did of Love Island, dude. Very good.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. I just want to say one thing though. Never underestimate Gareth to drag Mnet when he has an opportunity. Not only that he knocked them for money. He's just like, yo, I've been waiting.
I'll tell you what, if I were them, I wouldn't apologize and I wouldn't make a big deal of this. I mean, you've got whole channels. Remember, DSTV Multi-Choice, it's run by the same company. There's how many white people are on Mzansi Magic? Like, don't apologize. Just say, listen, we're doing different shows for different people. Not everything's going to be everybody's cup of tea. Why aren't you going after shows that don't have whites in them? It's stupid. It's just, the whole thing is dumb. It's like, it only applies in one direction. I wouldn't apologize if I were them. I'd say, we're trying to do shows for everybody.
Gareth, do white people want to be on Mzansi Magic?
Good question.
Maybe you should ask them. I'll bet you there are a lot of these little artists, actresses, and actors who would love to be on TV, and they'll take any job they can get.
In South African entertainment? Nah, dog.
I live in the northern suburbs. I listen to the Yentas. Oh my God, I don't even have DSTV. I got
we
Netflix.
Can tell you live in the northern suburbs. We can tell with that accent. We're
not going to take this seriously, though. I mean, it's just it's a stupid TV show, and this is what I can't believe. It's like, if we're really going to treat race politics and race theory and the actual concerns around this seriously, then we can't be talking Love Island, because that's not the place to solve our racial problems.
Of course, but the one thing I won't do is be talking race politics with you, Gareth. It's I know how this goes down, and the next thing, there's an open letter for me. There's an open letter for me, and I'm just like, that's one of my biggest fears, that you write an open letter and tag me.
Never, dude. No, I like you. I've got no problems
I know
with you.
it's one of my biggest fears, is that one day I'll open up the Sunday Times and I'll see an open letter to God knows who, and then somehow Gareth will be like, hey, and Simmi Areff once did this thing, and I'll be like, I guess that. One of my biggest.
You know what, Simmi, you'll know who to call. Been there, done that, got the.
As you guys can see,
look at the background. Just look in the background of. Call her back.
No, I will not do that.
Please call her back. We just missed her.
That was.
I cannot do that. And now
she just put herself in a situation right there. That's going to be on the internet forever, by the way.
Is that your girlfriend?
On the internet. No, that's not my girlfriend.
Who's that?
That's not my girlfriend. That's my mother, guys.
Oh, wow.
It's your mother. Yeah. Yo.
Who was that? Dude, she was in Just Panties.
Yo.
Yeah, I know, bro. Living a good life.
That was just a situation.
And now she's wearing a blanket.
Now she's wearing a blanket.
Yeah.
Now she's wearing a blanket.
Oh,
now she's like that girl from The Ring.
Hold on for a second. My real mother is calling though.
Oh my God. She's embarrassed now. Go take your mom.
Oh my gosh.
I wish she'd keep the microphone on.
Yeah.
So you saw that, guys. You saw that, right?
I was like, oh man, magic.
That was so great.
My mother was watching.
That's why live is so good. Is your mom watching? Did you see that?
What did your mother
Did she
say?
say, who's that girl? Yeah. Where's your real girlfriend?
Who's that girl?
Yeah, who's that girl? Because I know who your girlfriend is. Your girlfriend's at my house. Oh, you're on a holiday. You're on a working trip.
Yeah, and let me see the shitty Airbnb.
No, I understand that.
Dude,
Sure.
We didn't. I didn't say to you make her walk
Hey,
behind.
that's a situation, bro.
Good morning, everybody.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the.
I'm going to try and compose myself.
No,
so
I mean, like this.
Here's
right?
my thing.
No, here's my thing. If you guys ever put that clip up, that's just going to be objectively
it's already
bad.
Dude, it's live on YouTube. Someone will have taken that.
You can't put somebody else's like body on over there, bro.
We don't know who their face. You can put their body on. You can't put their face up if they don't give you permission.
I know.
Who?
I know how you feel.
Sia. Look at Sia. He's falling
Sia's
apart.
killing himself. How do you know I didn't do it on purpose? I'm in boxes, guys.
You're an entertainer. You're
I
an
know.
entertainer. Yeah. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
I'm sorry.
I'm with you, bro. I'm
Simmi.
with you.
Simmi,
Yes, guys.
We were to. It looks like Love Island is going on in your fucking house. That's what's happening.
That's where I
Are you
am
doing
right now.
auditions? Hey, that's commitment. He's doing auditions.
Why do you think I'm in Cape Town?
So tell me quickly, like, what are you busy with? Because I know a lot of comedians are going back on the road now.
I won't lie. Lockdown is probably the worst thing for me. It's like I did about 3 of those Zoom comedy shows, and I told my agent I just can't do this.
Did you hate them?
Can't do this.
Is
it's
it
just
not
not.
hard?
No, I think I'm too much of a purist. It's that I enjoy the interaction of a crowd and speaking to a crowd, and that wasn't there, at all. And I was just, I hated it. And I think the thing that I did a lot was I read a lot more, and I started watching a lot more things. And I think that's where, and Love Island comes at the end of that, because I wanted to do a lot more videos because I'm not getting on stage enough. And I know that, to be relevant in this industry, you always have to be seen. And that's the reason why you land up doing something like Love Island and making videos and stuff like that. So I didn't enjoy my time during this pansula, during this pandemonium, during this pandemics.
Yeah. Dude, I think comedians have been unfairly hit harder than most other performing artists, because there are some
like a national arts minister, I applied for grant funding, like everybody should have, because that's how it should have worked. But I don't know where that money went to. That money is chowed.
Well, listen, I think I'm not a big fan of government money, but in the case where the government actually stop you from doing what you do for a living, they do owe you money. And that's why I would have said that they should have paid the people who were hit the hardest first. There are some performing arts, though, that you can still do without an audience, but comedy, it's very hard to do that without someone laughing.
It's tough. It's tough, and but sometimes I'm thankful because at least at the end of the day, I have a roof over my head and some food to eat. And I think that's other artists didn't have that. If I look at my WhatsApp messages, maybe there's 30 or 40 comedians that I know that were asking just to be helped out.
Really?
Which is a shitty position, because I was thinking about it on a higher level though. Theaters are expensive in the country, and if they weren't, maybe artists would have a bit more money to go practice their art in a proper place, not like a bar. I'm not saying that club comedy is shit, but I'm just saying that club comedy doesn't pay the bills. But if you do a one-man show and you fill up one night, you can easily make some nice money for yourself. So absolutely. I just feel the arts at the moment, it's tough being an artist in South Africa. Some of my friends overseas had it much easier with better support than what we have.
I spoke to Trevor Gumbi and to Celeste Nduli last week. They were on my TV show, and they were both saying that that they are kind of starting to get back out there, and the smaller venues are booking them, and there are certain rules. Like now you can have, I think it's 100 people indoors or 50 people indoors or whatever, but it's kind of arbitrary. And Simmi, 50 people is not enough to pay the rent.
Finances don't make sense. It's a money's game, so if you got 50 bums on seat at 100 Rand a ticket, Yeah, that's 5,000 rand. But I mean, how much does the venue take? How much does the ticket promoter take?
Right.
So then maybe you're knocking 13% off each of those fees, and then maybe you're walking away with like 3,200 rand or like 2,600 rand, and that's not a. I don't know who can survive that, bro.
Do you think it's going to go back to normal eventually? Do you think, like in a year's time, we'll look back on this and go, okay, well, that was just an aberration, and now we're back, or do you think that this is going to change comedy forever?
I think a lot more people will attend things as soon as they can. Once it's much safer.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I worry about the arts in this country. I really, really, really do. I worry about talented people in this country because, you take a knock like this and maybe you don't come back to doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't go back to playing music. Maybe you don't go back to writing poetry. Maybe you don't do any of those things. Maybe you just like, yo, I need to work because I'm this close to the poverty line.
Simmi, on that note, I'd just like to ask you, man, because it's something that obviously we work in the biz, is do you feel that now that we've seen that our politicians and obviously the structures above are absolutely pathetic and they don't care, and we're just talking about the arts now, obviously it applies across the board, but just the art, do you think there's an appetite in your fellow amongst your fellow colleagues as performers, as artists, and in particular stand-up artists? Is there a way to, and I hate to use this word, unionize and build systems so that the people that come after you, is there an appetite amongst you? Would that sort of thing interest you? I mean, because we have to have a solution. We can't have you guys in this position in 10 years time again, can we?
No. I mean, if you you look at most unions, like maybe in other countries, I don't know. If you think about, I don't know an unselfish artist.
Yeah,
but it's not so much just selfishness. It's also that you all earn different fees. Like it's not a homogenous situation. So, some people are earning like, 20, 30 grand for a gig. Some people are earning 2 grand for a gig.
Yeah.
And you can't say that they're more talented than the other ones. And also, different venues might hire 5 different comedians, have to pay them 5 different fees. So how do you unionize that? Like you can't do a pro rata membership. And also unions depend on a whole lot of people, like a huge number of people who are all massively motivated.
Look at specifically stand-up, where you're alone on stage and you book the venue by yourself and maybe you do the promotion. Why would you unionize something like that? I know I'm a selfish comedian. I'm a selfish comedian. Why am I jumping?
It's not selfish. You're not selfish. You know what your skill is. You know
I know exactly what. Yeah.
You know how to put yourself forward. It's not selfish. I mean, this idea that if you're out there trying to earn a living, that you're selfish in some way is just insanity. And I don't know where it comes from. It's like you also are not responsible for. Imagine if other comedians, it's fine to ask, but imagine if they expected you to divvy up your meager earnings during lockdown and share it with them. I mean, this is how you end up in Venezuela, and it's not fun.
Can I tell you? I just wish I bought Bitcoin. That's the one. I bought Bitcoin years ago when people were mining it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember. I can go back into my head. I was in matric, and someone has told me about Bitcoin, and this name kept on popping up throughout my whole life.
So you had a chance. You knew about it.
Yeah, I have a friend who mined it.
Oh my God! Right in the beginning.
Yeah, right in the beginning. And now he can't get access to it because, like you do something like 15, 16, 17 years ago. And then, of course, you don't know the password. You don't know the password. Yeah.
Oh my God. It must be worth like millions.
Only, I think he had about 4.
Oh
and
my God. Okay,
he had used one food when he was in Thailand.
He used one whole one just for food in Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand, yeah.
I'm just going to work this out quickly. If he had 4, this is unbelievable. Are you ready for this? 4 Bitcoin now would be worth about 3.3 million rand.
He would have been having good times. Today. But I mean, also he lives on Houghton Drive already. So it just would have been pocket. It would have been pocket.
Bonus.
Yeah, it would have been bonus. But for me, I would have sat nicely.
Have you watched this Love Island?
I have. I do watch it every day. I love reality TV show. And the reason why I kept on watching it, I loved how bad the production was in the first week, and I could only imagine.
So again, like I'm embarrassed to admit, like Sia and I said that we would watch it because we'd heard a lot about the UK version when we were there. How long ago, Sia? 2-3 years ago, and
2018.
And it was all over everywhere. Anything in London that was a billboard was plastered with Love Island. It was the biggest show in the UK. And I thought, well, if this ever comes to South Africa, it might just be a hit. And then when I saw they were advertising, I thought, let's check this out. I still haven't seen an episode. How bad was the production in the first show?
Okay, let me just say two things. One, now that the production is fixed, it's pretty good. It's decent reality TV. I think the reason in that first week, when the production was bad, that people were like dying to see it. Like, leave the diversity issue aside. I'm just like the proper like Schadenfreude. You know, when you're seeing a sinking ship and you want to see who's still on the ship and who hasn't jumped on the life raft. That's exactly what it is.
It's the same reason people drive past a traffic accident really slowly and try and see a dead
That's
body.
exactly it. So I mean, like, when I talk about when everything from A to Z was bad. Like, you guys know Warren Robertson, the comedian?
No.
You know, I'm pretty sure you know, guys. Okay, he's a South African comedian, but he was the narrator of the show. Well, he still is the narrator of the show, but like nobody knew it was him. But like, except a few comedians that had like DSTV and were watching it. But like, they would replay his audio twice, or they would replay a scene twice, or there would be no bedding, or it was just, I don't know how the editing process went, because I mean, I'm sure we all know that when you take a show and you submit it to like Mnet, it's like quality control. You know, like
what I loved is like that gym boot that you did. Is that kind of what the guys on the show are? They're all just these gym boots from like Four Ways.
It kills me because, you know, I can assume that the four of us can have pretty intellectual conversations and hold like a conversation, but then you get like some of the conversations that they hold. It's like,
that is assuming a lot.
Gareth,
listen, we're pretty puerile.
Gareth, like, I can't believe you'd fucking do that. Like, it fucking upsets me. I can't believe you'd go behind my back and you'd fucking lie, like, to my fucking face, you'd lie, and then go behind my back.
They talk. This is what they say to each other.
Like, but like, and you know, like the O's are like deep, looking into each other's eyes, but understanding each other like fully. Like, Machana, I fucking love you, but like on the end of the first week, someone had to leave. People were crying tears here. They had an emotional connection.
Spent a week in a house together, and it's like your best friends leaving.
The fucking connections I've made here. You guys are like family.
Okay, sir, just calm down.
Yeah.
I fucking hold a special
Even
place in my
Sia, who's never afraid to express his love for fellow contestants. So, Simmi, it's exactly what I'd expect it to be then, and your little clip kind of gives us a very good idea of what's actually going on in that show.
I mean, that clip I did because it was like automatically, like, that's like a automatic gag to me. But I mean, like, if you watch it now, it's not great reality television. But I watch reality television, but I also wait and hope for a mistake to appear.
What about the girls? Are the girls also like stereotypical in some way?
I mean, yeah, it's just like, you know what it is? It's kids who want to kiss.
Okay.
Go to clubs. Right. It's like, you know, like, okay, when I was younger, I wanted to go to, like, I went to Wits and like UKZN. So I wanted to like read and study. And, you know, the conversations you have would be like, you know, like political discourse on hegemony. But like some people go to the club and listen to David Guetta, and that's also fine.
Sure.
It's just those on my conversation. To each their own.
Are they good-looking people? I mean, let's objectively evaluate their appearance, because this is like Baywatch. It doesn't have to have a great plot. It doesn't have to be well thought through. It doesn't need intellectual gravity. It just needs good-looking people who are semi-naked on screen, and then people will watch.
I heard a rumor on how they selected some of them.
Yeah.
One of my friends actually told me. They literally slid through DMs on like Instagram, like, yo, Love Island South Africa's coming to South Africa. Would you like to be a contestant? Go ahead, send your headshots and stuff here on your Instagram profile. Like, that's literally.
Imagine being the creepy guy at Mnet who had to do that.
Yeah. But I'm just like, also,
you look like you got nice hair and a good body. We want to have you on the show.
A Love Island finale for the UK version, and they invited like most of the people that wanted to be like entrants. And like, yo, pull through, see what it's about. Maybe you'll enjoy it. So I'm just like, but that's like, is that not typical of the production? Of like, but hey, how do we get hot also, people on Instagram?
How do you audition people during like lockdown and coronavirus? I suppose you have to use social media. You can't bring them into the studio and talk to them. So they probably had to audition them like we're doing the show this morning. It's like an online version, you know?
But and it makes sense. It makes sense. Go to someone's Instagram profile. If they're banging, I mean, say, hey, do you want to be on the show? What's there to lose?
No,
what's there to lose? Like, yo, pull through. And I mean, like, if you think about it, you stay in quarantine for a little bit so you can get into a bio bubble, and then you get to eat nice and stay in a vineyard, and people record you and your conversations and your workouts. And
so it's called Love Island. So it's called Love Island, but it's actually in the Winelands somewhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, the UK guys came down over here and recorded their previous season at the same place.
Oh, okay. So it's already been kitted out and everything. They've got the cameras and they've got all that stuff.
That's what makes the fuck up funnier.
Oh my God, dude.
It's like we're on this Cliff Central show. We have your radio station there up in Joburg, right? And then you're like, yo, Simmi, I'm going to show you how to use this radio station. And I'm like, cool. And you show me, and then you're like, okay, cool. So Monday to Friday, you're here doing this stuff. And I'm like, sure, Gareth. And then I don't know how to switch the microphones on. And then you hear me like sounding in the toilet, like, yo.
Vusi wants to ask you, Vusi, he says, just joined live, so not sure if you've asked this already. Where is lesser known somebody's been waiting for more episodes for literally years now? That's from Vusi.
Vusi, literally, bro, there've been episodes loaded up like once a week throughout this whole year, and there were like 12 episodes last year while I was trying to deal with the coronavirus. Maybe you should update your app.
Here's Robert. He says, lesser known somebody's released an episode days ago. You see, some people are paying attention.
Robert is a cool guy. And that guy knows audio as well. Robert knows audio. So if you ever need like an audio engineer, gather, Robert's your guy.
Okay. I'm sure we've met Rob at some point. So tell us, Simmi, what's the plan of action, dude? From a applying your trade point of view. I mean, I know you've been doing the podcasts and everything, but what about like comedy? What do you think's going to happen, and how can you get back into it? Because people want to see you.
So I've been in Cape Town because I've been doing some recording, of course. But the only reason why I came is because my parents got vaccinated, so I felt a bit safer. And plus, there's 3 of us at home: my mom, my dad, and me. And then herd immunity, you need 66%. So I've just been rubbing up against them for a while, hoping that I get it. And then I Cape Town. I tried to do a gig here.
Hold on. How did your parents get vaccinated so quickly? Because I mean, there are not a lot of people who have been.
Doctors.
Are they doctors? Oh,
yeah,
that's useful.
So,
okay. Are you? You're the least educated person in your family.
No, I'm not the least educated. The least educated. My sister's the more highly educated. Sorry, my mom is WhatsApping again.
Oh God, she's embarrassed. You must talk about her. She doesn't like this.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. I mean, my mom just said sorry. I pocket dialed.
Oh.
Yeah. My mother doesn't understand technology.
Well, so she doesn't talk to you. You're not a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. She's an endocrine, so she's a specialist.
Yeah, a real doctor. Yeah,
a real one.
I worked for 10 years to get to achieve what I did for my son to go and make jokes on stage. Is this where we are? Is what she's saying?
Yeah, well, like I have a BA LLB, so if I wanted to, I could do other things. But I chose.
Yeah, sure. Like we need more lawyers in the world. Are you mad?
Yeah. And an honors in journalism.
Check his credentials.
So I have the second most degrees. No, the second most degrees.
All right, then that's good.
Has the most. Yeah.
Aperture King says Simmi is looking good. All right, so you are. You're looking happy and healthy. That's good.
And healthy, yeah. And funny. I mean, you're funny as hell.
Can I tell you something that? So I tried to go back to gym like during like once like that lockdown level 5 it ended and stuff, and I couldn't. I'm just like I felt scared because where I stay in Norwood, like no one was obeying restrictions. Like, you know, when someone wears a mask and then like the nose is out, but like that's the style there. So that made me go back home and eat more pizza. And let me tell you, food has been delicious during this pansula. It has been amazing.
Same here. I've been, I got on the scale, when was it, like 2 weeks ago, and I thought, Jesus, I got to do something. Because Bulelo's like the fittest guy here by miles. He runs, how many kilometers do you do usually when you go for a run?
Hey, I ran 56 on Saturday. No big deal. No big deal.
Really, no big deal.
No
I hate you. I hate you.
Just another day.
What a
Just
loser.
another day.
Hey, people listen. Like you show up when they're running.
Hey, listen, guys. We all get out of bed 1 foot at a time. You know, I'm just the guy.
One quick last thing here before we let Simmi go. Just BC91 says, "What's happened to the Durban comedy scene? Was there ever a Durban comedy scene?"
There was. The Durban has produced. It's produced myself, Robbie Collins. A lot of really good stand-up comedians come from Durban. Yeah, a lot of how do I say it? Durban has a great place to not do your craft, but they'll always remember that you came from there. So I don't know where the Durban comedies. I mean, why am I like comedians? Carvin Goldstone, Bill Green, like some really, really good like, stand-ups. And I don't know how
there aren't any venues there. Is what I'm trying to get to. It's like
it is tough. It is tough.
There are great people that have come out of Durban, but there isn't much of a scene in terms of like places you can go.
Yeah, the Playhouse was cool. I mean, the parking is shit. It's not safe on the street.
Yeah, you're right in the middle of town. We filmed Idols there one year, and I was like, Jesus, this place looks like it should be much more nice than it is. You know, it should be somewhere that people want to go, but it's in the middle of town, and it's not great.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. I don't know if there's a scene that is supportive, but is there any scene that's supportive? So, but there is a scene. There is a scene somewhere, and there are comedians, and you can go and support them. They're very funny people.
All right. Well, if you get out there, you'll be sure to let us know, because we all need to laugh a little bit more after all this bullshit. And you make it. Good to see you, my friend, and keep well. Dude.
And we have Gilly back on. Gilly's hilarious.
Yeah, Gilly's great. And please, in future, just make sure that the women cover themselves up when they run around behind you.
I can't believe she did that. I can't believe my mom.
Your mom is a doctor, and ass like that is incredible. All right, bro. You be good.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Cheers. There's Simmi Areff. God, that was funny.
Oh, that was hilarious. And his mom's probably watching, going, bloody hell. No, I'm saying his mom's watching the thing.
For sure.
Oh my gosh.
She was watching because she did message him, and then she pocket dialed again later. I think to just get him off the show, but he's great. So well done to Simmi on that little Love Island clip. I will watch the show. God damn it! I have to make a plan now and actually see it now that we've spoken about it so much. So someone says here, in 2014, this is Ash, listen to this. In 2014, I mined 12 Bitcoins and I sold them at the time and made 50,000 Rand in profit. That would be worth 9.5 million Rand today if I kept it up. I mean, Jesus. Yeah. Ash, that has got to sting, man.
Yeah, that's tough.
That has got to sting.
There was a genius NFL player, I think 6 years ago. He demanded his team pay him half his salary straight to Bitcoin or in Bitcoin. He subsequently tripled his earnings as salary. So it was quite a cool story last week.
Well, we will try again this week to catch up with Sean Sanders, but currently Bitcoin trading at somewhere around $56,637 per coin. Ethereum at $1,786. So it's still happening, and we keep an eye.
It's a good lesson. Be friends with the people that are nerds in school now. One day they'll be Warren Buffett. One day they'll be Bitcoin. They'll be Sean Sanders and Bitcoin kings. One day, guys. Be friends with the nerds at school. Those jocks that get all the pretty girls. Get those guys the hell out of your life.
Well, they'll end up on Love Island.
That's true.
Good point.
No, that's a good. But that's not necessarily going to help you in any way.
I don't know. Once again, I'll be diplomatic and say to each their own.
Each.
Yeah, Ruth says something. I don't want to end on a depressing note, but she makes a really good point here. Ruth says that the art scene has been dying for the last 20 years and then some. It really has. Like, I don't know when you last went to a live theater. I mean, I hate theater. I'm not going to even pretend that I'm in any way sophisticated enough to enjoy plays. The last play I went to was when my sister was studying drama at university, and I told her and I told the audience I hated it. I'm not a guy who enjoys that kind of thing. I went to the ballet once and fell asleep. I don't mind really good opera, but once every 5 years is enough for me. And frankly, I think I get that overseas.
Did you see Andre Rieu when he came here, Gareth? It's one of the greatest things I've ever experienced, and I'm not into opera. I promise you, Andre Rieu comes again, and I also get super bored with that stuff.
Yeah.
At Monte Casino was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in South Africa.
My mother loves him so much. I walked in, she was busy painting when I went to visit them like a week ago or whatever, and she was busy painting and listening to this Andre Rieu music. I said to her, "What is this?" She's Andre Rieu. She can't
not even appreciate it.
No, it's all right. I mean, it's not.
He takes his own stage across the world. He doesn't. He doesn't do props. He's unbelievable.
No, don't get me wrong. Listen, classical music is the reason it's lasted 300 years or whatever. Is because it's amazing. It's the most beautiful, beautiful music. I mean, you can't to go full circle here. You can't compare that and Beyonce.
100%. Hey, listen, I'm with you. It's a snore fest, but when you go and see something like that live, where they are real performers, right? There's no smoke and mirrors there, like Beyonce and all these other clowns, like you said.
Billie Eilish. Wow. You gave me a free ticket to Billie Eilish or Beyonce or Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. I mean, really.
Wow.
Yeah. Straight in the shredder. That's the way that free ticket is going straight in the shredder. Yeah.
I'd give it to maybe I'd give it to an orphan, then I could get to heaven.
Oh, this nonsense has got to stop.
On that wonderful note, you've turned around. That is the note to end on.
I'm already thinking about what Beyonce album will I play during my work day today.
All right. Well, Bolelo, always good to see you, dude. And all the people who've been screaming and shouting that they wanted to hear from you again, I hope you're happy because he's been here now and you can relax. You can stop giving Sia and I a hard time. And we'll keep checking in with you from time to time and keep up the good work. Go and subscribe and like and watch Cliff Central Sport with Bolelo. You can also subscribe and like this particular page, this feed. And get on there, cliffcentral.com. All right, everyone. Have a happy day. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m.